My name's Richard Lamplow and welcome to the 8th video in this series of Access to Work advice videos, where I give you detailed information about Access to Work, a scheme that's really useful for people with hidden disabilities when they've been offered a paid job. You've probably noticed I'm in my studio and not in my kitchen. That's not to say I won't need coffee, I will, but I'll need bits and pieces of equipment I've got in my studio that I don't have in my kitchen. You've probably noticed the colour quality of this video is a little bit better than the last one. So at the end of video 7, I talked about a reference number that you'll get once you've made your application online or by telephone. The guidance says that Access to Work will contact you within 3 weeks from the date you get this, but the average wait for me is usually 3 to 4 days. That said, I'm involved in a claim at the moment that's gone over the 3-week mark. Just like the other videos in the series, when you see me speaking out of this smartphone, I'll always be speaking directly to you, the person who's about to start a new job. The way Access to Work will contact you at first will be by phone. They will have your application and they'll want to explain to you what happens next. It's probably a good idea to have a key supporter around when you take the call, but of course you don't know when Access to Work are going to call you. So, if you take the call and your key supporter isn't nearby, what you can do is ask your Access to Work advisor to call you back on a day and at a specific time when you know your key supporter is going to be with you. Or you might want to arrange to call the advisor back when you have your key supporter sitting beside you. Make sure you make a note of the advisor's name and direct telephone number and arrange a day and a time that's convenient for the advisor. A future method of communication your advisor will use is email. Access to Work, like so many other organisations, relies on email. I'm going to come out of the smartphone now and talk a little more about this. It's pretty important. For reasons outside my field of expertise, there seem to be some attachments the DWP use that means Access to Work emails can, very occasionally, end up in my spam folder rather than my inbox, and the same can happen to employers. I've never known an Access to Work advisor not email an employer when they've told me they are about to do so, but I can think of 2 employers over the last year tell me these emails have never come through. On investigation, we found out that the emails ended up in the employer's spam folders, so my advice is certainly at the setup stage of the support contract, use a phone to double check all is going as it should be. If, in the future, your employer doesn't get back to Access to Work simply because they never saw the email, then Access to Work might close your case. You really don't want this to happen, because if they do close the case, then you'll have to start the whole application process again. Okay, returning to the initial phone conversation you're having with the advisor, you will be given a unique 9-digit reference number and it will always start with 100. This number stays with you permanently. The phone conversation you are now having with the advisor, who will be allocated to you for at least the next 6 months, probably won't last that long. The advisor will ask you, amongst other things, some details about your job, your employer and your disability. If you ever feel you're struggling to explain things, put your key supporter on the phone to speak to the advisor. And this is where I feel, because of the level of detail I'm going to give you in videos 9, 10, 11 and 12, for this video, take a step back, listen to what I'm about to say and look at the graphics I'm about to show you. Look at this soft pink oval shape and within it, imagine the huge number of different jobs there are in the UK that people do to earn a living, whether that's working for themselves or working for an organisation. Now look at this soft yellow oval shape and within it, think about the different range of support needs people might have around a physical disability and/or a sensory impairment and/or a health condition and/or a hidden disability. The area in the middle, the soft orange colour, is where access to work might be needed. As you can imagine, it's a large and varied landscape. Further context is added when you consider some support, financed by Access to Work, might be tech-based, whilst other support can only ever be done by a real person rather than a piece of equipment. And if this support is provided by a real person, sometimes it needs to be permanent and sometimes it needs to be temporary, often starting out at a relatively high level and then tapering off over time. Once you have this full vision of the overall picture and you grasp the fact that there's one government department called Access to Work covering every single part of it, you will understand how, on occasions, some applications can become problematic. My advice is to imagine that within the soft orange area, you look at 5 strong different primary colours. Let's use circles for these. Whilst they are different to each other in colour and size, together they look fine. For this video, I'm only going to explain what 3 of them represent. This one's the support somebody needs to get to and from work. This one's the job coaching they will need. And this one's the support they will need to complete e-learning modules at work. You need to explain to your Access to Work advisor how you are going to address each area and how you justify this within the funding package you request. I would suggest you look at them as different job parts leading to one sustainable job. The reality is that once the funding is approved and the person starts work, there are going to be all sorts of overlaps. It's also quite likely that one area won't need as much intervention as you thought, whilst another might need a little more. Access to Work will understand this. What they need from you at this stage is what they call a support plan. A few advisors call it an action plan, but I prefer the support plan title, so I'll stick to that for the rest of these videos. In the next video, I'm going to start to give you the detailed information that you'll need to ensure the support plan you submit to Access to Work is of the very highest quality.